And the finalists are...
We recognise those individuals. I got the envelope.
And the winner is...
And the winner is...
And the winner. And the winner is...
And the Esports award goes to...
We're at the tippity top of the mountain, but we're really only halfway up.
Hello and welcome to the 5th Esports Awards Spotlight Show of 2020. I am Gabriella La Tigers Devia Allen, and we are back to unveil your finalists for both the pro and on-air talent categories. These are the last finalists to be revealed for 2020 ahead of the Esports Awards to end out the year. Now, before we get into the players and the talent that have really made a mark on esports this year, I want to recap the launch of Industry and Creative, because the community got right behind both of these categories with a staggering number of votes, 2.2 million for 2020. We are truly staggered by your response and remain honored to be able to reward and recognize so many hardworking individuals, teams, businesses, and brands. We continue to listen to your feedback and adjust accordingly. And tonight we have a good amount of awards to unveil, including the heavyweights such as Esports Team of the Year, Esports Host of the Year, Esports PC Player of the Year, and Esports Console Player of the Year. But I only get to do this so many times, so I gotta stretch it out. Everybody, let's roll the intro.
Shine like gold. Shine like gold. Shine like gold.
Coming up on tonight's show, we announced the finalists for the pro and on-air talent categories. Ocelot stops by for a quick 3-0 summer finals and catch-up. The 3rd and 4th Lifetime Achievement in Esports Award inductees are announced. Joining me on today's show are two of the finest in esports. We have Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, as well as F. returning once more. But Monty, it's your first time here on the show. How you doing?
Doing great. Been a panel member for many years now. Always happy to help out with these events.
So excited to get your expertise when going through our finalists here today. Now, F. You're my right-hand man here, always reliable. How have you been since the last time we hung out?
I'm chilling. I'm big chilling. I'm excited. Obviously, I moved a little bit. I don't look like I'm a hostage in a hotel room anymore. So life is good. We're still in the A, still repping Atlanta. So go Faze, I guess. But we're here. We're chilling. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, new digs I see behind you. I'm loving it. One of the big themes of this year, though, that has been discussed on all of the spotlight shows is how different 2020 is as a landscape when it comes to esports. Monty, what have you been doing to pass the time and adapt to this changing landscape?
Well, I had a baby, so I really don't think my life
that changes a lot.
Functionally very different because I still would just be staying inside, hanging out with an infant. So actually, it hasn't been too terrible for me personally. And I've just been working on creating events, and my events have been in studio the whole time, at least with talent. So honestly, it's been going pretty well. It's been, it's been going pretty well. I think I have a very different experience than most other people.
Yeah, definitely jelly of all that time I see you hanging in the studio. I know a lot of people are missing that, but it's great to see the different approaches that everyone has taken. And FDOT, we are here with a whole new set of categories. We are finally moving into the Pro Awards as well as the On-Air Talent. Is there anything in particular you are looking forward to most today?
I mean, this is my category. I'm I do all this hosting stuff, these days, but I'm a caster. I'm a play-by-play guy. I'm a color guy. Like, live commentary is my dig. And like we discussed with the industry awards, like on-air stuff, I'm the nerd. I sit down, I watch the broadcast, and I take notes of the lower thirds and the handoffs and the talk and all these like interactions because this is our bread and butter and then some. So I'm just excited. This is what I get excited for a little bit more than the cosplay stuff.
And you and I have to always get to be here kind of as fans reacting to the finalists as they become revealed. But Monty, you have a bit of a deeper role in this entire process. Can you tell us about how you got involved with Esports Awards and what it has been like up to this point?
I mean, I don't even remember how I got involved originally. I got involved very early on in this, and I've been doing it for several years now. But really, I just think it's extremely important that we have a consensus awards show for the industry that is operated primarily by endemic esports people, especially when it comes to the voting and the nominations, because I think it's really crucial that we have an ability to recognize the people who matter in this industry in a legitimate and big way. And so I'm happy to keep contributing to this. And as part of the panel, I debate and cast my votes on many of the people you'll see today. I'm one of a lot of people now as we continue to expand the awards and try and make sure that we have adequate representation from kind of all of the different games that are played professionally across the broader esports landscape. So I submit my votes. Sometimes, my candidates come up, but I'm one voice among many these days.
You mentioned the debates that occur in trying to make sure there's a clear representation across esports. For you personally, do you have a criteria when it comes to nominating these finalists, and does it differ drastically depending on the actual category?
Well, I think a lot of the debates that we have internally, we try and have people from different scenes so that they can champion specific people, because obviously with the number of esports, it's not necessarily possible for any one human being to watch every single game. So a lot of the candidates, and especially when we're submitting our final votes, if somebody feels very strongly, they can kind of describe why they really think that this person deserves to win. That way the panel can kind of go back and review some of the nominees' body of work later on. But yeah, we try and make sure that we have like a voice from all of the different games so that we can come down to a pool of candidates that makes sense across a variety of titles.
Well, I know we're very excited to see those candidates come to the forefront for the audience here today. So much to look forward to. We would like to once again thank our partners for 2020, without whom this would not be possible. Each and every partner has a role to play when it comes to the Esports Awards, from our longtime destination in Arlington through our trophy provider in Touch of Ginger. Arlington.org, Scuff Gaming, Esports Stadium Arlington, The Koyo Store, Sizzle Creative, Touch of Ginger, Grind Gaming, eFuse, Live CGI, Respawn Products, Matrix Keyboards, and eBeats. We recently launched partnerships with 2 new brands in 2020 who, at the top of their game, ensure that you are at the top of your game. First up, we have Respawn Products, a company known for providing outstanding comfort in their chairs as well as practicality in their desks. Respawn have grown rapidly in the last few years to become a well-known brand within the industry and have even been chosen by the community and our esteemed panel as a finalist for the Esports Hardware Provider of the Year. With that being said, we are proud to be partnering with a brand whose growth and story resonates with our own. Secondly, we have Matrix Keyboards, known within the industry for their top quality keyboards, custom keycaps, and accessories. Bringing personalization and RGB to the products we all use on a daily basis with top quality at the forefront, we are extremely pleased to be able to partner with a brand that is truly bringing exciting products for our audience. We also have a super exciting announcement in the form of a returning partner. This company lit up the Esports Awards 2019 and brought with it the anthems that celebrated the winners. That's right. We are thrilled to announce we are once again partnering with eBeats, a company that has accessible music at the forefront of their business. Giving a solution to many within content creation, providing top quality music across genres that can be used without the worrying of licensing or demonetization. With DMCA as a hot topic in 2020, it has never been a better time to be on the eBeats platform. I think it's finally time to announce our finalists. This is the last group to be unveiled, and we have seen them entertain us throughout all of the difficult circumstances of 2020. First up, it's Esports Analyst of the Year.
The finalists for Esports Analyst of the Year are Sponge, LS, Froskuren, Fogged, Nameless, Wolf, Pimp, Veli, Reinforce.
Alas, our first category has been revealed. So many great names on this list. Monty, as someone who had a word and who made it through to this point, what was your initial reaction to the finalists that you see before you?
Well, I think it's been a really interesting year for analysts overall, just because with the pandemic, a lot of times many of these online broadcasts have rolled together the analyst and caster segments. We haven't seen as many dedicated analyst desks. Mostly it's been the casters kind of filling that in. So it's been a challenge. And the other thing is, how do you do on-camera performances like we're typically used to seeing on analyst desks when you're not actually in a studio a lot of the time? So I think certainly this year we're looking at different criteria, including adaptability to the pandemic and who is still able to shine based on, perhaps being from home or being remote.
Also, there's something to be said about the analyst role, taking in multiple variables, right? If you are, for example, an analyst at a tournament and it's a one-shot 12-hour day, you have to bring like player fatigue into the nonsense. So leagues that have shifted online, that also has the analyst how have they dealt with that online variable? Is it a part of their analysis? Is it something they've ignored? How have they created their job with that in mind is also kind of something that's running through my brain as well.
Well, thinking about that job and the creation of it and that adaptability, we see more and more analysts as esports grow and the broadcasts themselves get larger. FDOT, following up on that a bit, what do you consider to be the primary aspects of an analyst, thinking specifically on a desk or someone to really provide that professional perspective?
I mean, I think this is probably one of the more cut and dry questions when we get into what does a color commentator do or what does a play-by-play commentator do? Get out your popcorn or just leave. I'll talk forever. But when it comes to what is can you analyze the game up and down? Do you know what you're talking about? And perhaps maybe I did myself a disservice. It's not just about knowing what you're talking about, but can you actually communicate that to the audience? There are plenty of turbo nerds on Reddit that absolutely know every single aspect of the game, but if you ask them about it, they can't communicate it whatsoever. As an analyst, you've got to sort of translate the language of the high-end play into something that's digestible for the every person.
In many ways, I think that the works that a lot of these desk analysts do is actually more challenging than what casters do, because having done a lot of both of these roles, when you've got the game, you're not expected to be the same level of entertaining to keep people's interest, right? If you're going to be on an analyst segment, you have to have a certain sense of on-camera presence and showmanship and entertainment factor that will keep people watching when the game isn't on. That will keep them from turning it off, from changing to another esport or another stream. And that in and of itself is a very underappreciated aspect of many analysts.
And in that difficulty and trying to really communicate to the audience what is needed to be known, Monty, do you feel like that's a lot of why we see people that really stick to a single game and become an analyst in that one scene, as opposed to variety that you often see with something like a host or a play-by-play?
I think it's very difficult to have the in-depth knowledge to do multiple games as an analyst at any one time, and the same is true of being a color commentator. However, I think mostly it's a fact that people are scared of the unknown and not sure that their abilities to analyze a game or to learn a new game will translate. I think that truly great people are capable of moving across games, but probably not doing more than one at any given point in time.
Well, all of these analysts are up for your votes in the audience. Make sure you go ahead and do so at esportsawards.com/vote. But for our next award, it is brand new for 2020, Esports Color Caster of the Year, adding the detail and driving the narrative to bring rivalries and grudges to life.
The finalists for Esports Color Caster of the Year are Merc, Froskuren, Vedius, LS, Moses, Launders, Chance, Kickstar, Fogged, Henry G.
Being that this is the first year, we have a color caster and then a play-by-play caster award that we're going to be talking about in a minute. I think we need to go over some of the distinction, Monty. So why was it important to separate these two categories this year?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that color casters, who tend to be the analysts, the ones that are pushing the narratives, the ones who are breaking down the strategy of the gameplay, color casters tend to overshadow because, frankly, we're just fucking like a lot better than some dude who just yells at the game.
Whoa, you're talking to two play-by-play casters here, man.
Yeah, I know. You have the easier job. Like, I hate to break it to you. You don't have to do the
Big
same
oof.
level of film review. You don't have to know the game at the same level. Don't have to know the narratives. You just shout at what you see. So as a result, we had to break this category into two parts because otherwise the color caster dominance was just going to continue for the end of time. And sometimes, we like to throw you guys a bone. So that's why we decided as a panel to split the categories, share the love a little bit. That's what we're doing here. So we'll do the color category first.
Yeah, I'd like to think that it's more the build up to the play-by-play casters that now deserve their own honoring. And FDOT.
I'm just saying they were never going to win if we didn't do this. They were never going to win.
See, here's the thing. You're outnumbered
that's
here.
wishful thinking.
Yeah. But not everybody gets to win, or rather one for each category, right? And I think that both parties, play-by-play and color, are very appreciative of this because of the distinction here. And FDOT, we're also starting to see in terms of the categories, there's a lot of league representation, CS, but there's also an entrance on the side of Rainbow Six. We have Kickstar being nominated for the first time. What does this say about the emergence of this esports and adding that variety to the nominations here?
I mean, one is just go ahead, go.
Oh, no, I think for us, like, it makes a lot of sense because Rainbow Six is one of those games that's definitely on the rise, especially because of Ubisoft's decision to standardize the circuit and have it operate in all of the independent regions around the world. It's really a game that has had, most games, they come out strong and then they have that really good initial esports viewership. But really, Rainbow Six has been on a slow burn and increasing over time since the game's release. And a lot of that, I think, is due to Ubisoft's very intelligent management of the game and the esports infrastructure around it. So as it professionalizes and becomes one of the games that we talk about as potentially a rising tier 2 or tier 1 esport, it's important to recognize the people who are part of that scene.
I also think that, like, when it comes to, and this is a much larger conversation about esports, I suppose, but like history is what makes sport fun. We like to look at the Yankees and the Red Sox because there's 100 years of rivalry there. You cannot, I say this all the time, you can't like create tradition overnight. And a lot of esports have tried to like force that. Shouts to Overwatch League. But when it comes naturally as like, the slow burn is, as you said, now all of a sudden you have years to look back and that's really where the color commentator gets to shine. Kickstar has been there since day one, and he's just, long hair, don't care, out there telling the stories for these new fans. And that's where you really like earn your money, so to speak, as a color commentator. Because if I just, tune in, I'm a Tachanka main, I tune in for the first time this year. I don't know what happened last year, the year before. So Kix gets to fill in like all that stuff. And when you look at Counter-Strike, their color commentators, that's really, I've been watching Counter-Strike since the year 2000. Like, you can go back and talk about, Mama's Killers and New York Giants, because I come from New York, like, and having that like breadth of knowledge is really impressive. And so to see the names up here, repping Counter-Strike, Moses and Launder, some of the, not people that haven't been around since day one. It's cool to see people kind of step in. And also, color commentary is where your personality really shines. As a play-by-play guy, you have a little different, like, there are different styles, but at the end of the day, it's, guy one, guy two puts it in. But as a color commentator, there's a breadth. Some people are gruff and upfront like Monty. Some people are really, really nice. Some people are funny. Some people aren't. And like, that's the whole gimmick. There are so many different names here. What Frost does is different than what Fog does, is different than what Kix does. And I think that's dope. This is a fun category.
Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to say about the personality of play-by-play casters, but there is a plenty coming from that fountain. And we'll be talking about the play-by-play casters in just a moment, but don't forget to cast your votes at esportsawards.com/vote for who you think is at the forefront for our color casters. But it's time to go to the other side. Our next award is another new one, and this one is Esports Play-by-Play Caster of the Year.
The finalists for Esports Play-by-Play Caster of the Year are Uber, Maven, Captain Flowers, Quickshot, Dracos, Ebi, Anders, Semler, OD Pixel.
We gave lots of love to the color casters. Now it's time to throw some love over to play-by-play. F. Since the whole reason I learned play-by-play was to come onto a show that you were hosting a few years ago, I'll let you take the reins on this, on what you think the important aspects are for a play-by-play and what they bring to the table of a cast.
Play-by-play has its own kind of difficulties as well. We kind of joke about color being this. There's not a lot of rules in color commentary, and so that, I guess, inherently makes it more difficult. But the mechanics, if you will, of play-by-play is really, what's difficult. When you're looking at, I'll go to MOBAs essentially. When you're looking at MOBAs, there's 10 people on the field casting all these sort of spells. Not only do you have to have the knowledge of what they are, you have to be able to see what's happening, parse the information, and export the information and not overload. A lot of fans sit at home and love the rap god, but if you're going to sit here and go, player one uses ability one, and then player two uses ability two, and then player three uses, not of that, I just don't care. You need to give me the initiator, the taunter, the damage dealing, and the result, and then tie it in a bow, make it sound good, and then shift over to your teammate. Being able to share the mic is just as important as being able to dominate the mic. And yeah, at the end of the day, maybe you have a cool mic brain, bang! Maybe you have a cool, this is Rocket League. But like, there's so much more than just screaming at the top of your lungs. Doesn't always seem like that. But there's a lot of mechanics in there for play-by-play for sure.
Is there a particular talent you had in mind when you were just doing an accent for the Rocket League call out, F.
Maybe. Listen, the European guys always get the camera when it comes to Rocket League. Everybody loves soccer and the European style. So, you know what? It is what it is.
Well, one of the things that we talked about is that duality, the color caster and the play-by-play caster. Monty, you've had a lot of experience not only having a long-standing play-by-play caster, your years with Doa, but working in multiple scenes as well. How do you think that these two go hand in hand when speaking of those mechanics that F. just mentioned, taking a role within the cast?
I've also been a play-by-play caster myself at times, depending on the game, and even in League of Legends when I was casting with Papa Smithy. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of respect for it, even though we think of color caster as more as the Batman, and this is kind of like the Robin Award, as it were. I still think that it's very difficult to do this. A lot of what I look for in play-by-play casters when I'm evaluating them is, like F. Dot was saying, pacing, because understanding when to hype the action is very important. That you don't want to hit one note or be excited for some bullshit, basically. You need to make sure that you are authentically hyping the things that deserve to be hyped up and not pandering to your audience or insulting their intelligence by hyping things up that don't deserve it. A lot of it is intelligent wordplay, wittiness, creativity, depth of vocabulary, tone, all the technical things that we talk about as we would say an actor or a singer, right? And so this is a more technical kind of job, I would say, overall, even though color commentators obviously are better with these skills also. And for me, looking at some of these nominees, Uber has had another outstanding year with the Overwatch League, certainly one of the most witty casters that we have. Captain Flowers, Quickshot, these guys in League of Legends continue to do their thing and really be at the top of the play-by-play game. So these are some of the names that we've seen come out on this list that continue to have excellent careers and have not won this award previously.
When it comes down to play-by-play commentary, it's the pacing and stuff. The amount of times I've seen a play-by-play caster like go nuts over some routine play. You've got to have that sort of game knowledge to, like you said, kind of give people the up and down there. I look for the same thing. I like wordplay. I like sort of listen. You're a lot of the times you're saying the same thing over and over and over again. The task is to not say the same thing. Find a different word, find a different phrase, etc. I look at Semler for that. I really like what Semler has done, across different games, kind of bringing his own like flair into that chair one position. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. And, I'll be honest with you. I also am kind of I wear a lot of hats. I do the color commentary. I do the hosting. I do the play-by-play, pretty much all 33% in esports. Play-by-play is the one that I get the most like, not stage fright, like I guess nerves. Like that's the one. It's less forgiving. I feel like if you come in and you make the home run call and it's just a long fly ball to right field, like you lose the game, dude. That's it. It's over. And that one, so I give a lot of credit to play-by-play casters for that sort of world.
And I have to say, Monty, admitting that you did some play-by-play casting before this, after hating on play-by-play, a little self-hate there.
That's how I know it's easier. That's how I just done it. That's how I know.
You just gotta speak from that.
I'm speaking from a place of ignorance,
I guess that's why you're on the panel, having the input and making these decisions. Yes.
I've been casting for 15 years. It would be strange if I hadn't done some play-by-play at certain points in time.
Ain't that the truth? But whether you yourself in the audience have 15 years of casting under your belt or just eyes that have been peering at the screen, you do have a say in who's going to be walking away with this award at the end of the day. Make sure you cast your vote at esportsawards.com/vote. Our next category is going to those who drive the conversation in multiple roles. We have Esports Host of the Year.
The finalists for Esports Host of the Year are Anna Exidy, Chris Puckett, Effie Shocks DePortier, Alex Machine Richardson, Frankie Ward, Lottie Van Prague, Jorian Sheaver Vanderheeden, Zoe Geschwind, James Dash Patterson, Alex Goldenboy Mendez.
A good host will bring the entire show together, but one of the most intriguing things about this category to me is the variety within the host role. Sometimes you have stage, sometimes you have desk. How do you consider all of that when looking at the finalists, Monty, and kind of those nuances between the performances?
Well, it's 2020, so we don't have any stage hosts because there aren't any stages. So I start there and I just eliminate that entire category.
But if the box is at the top, maybe that stage, you put it over to the left as the desk host, makes a difference there?
No. So that's pretty easy. Actually, that's the problem with this role in this year is because we haven't had as many analyst segments or we've had the casters doing between game stuff more than normal. It's been tough. I think there are certain broadcasts, notably in League of Legends and Call of Duty and Overwatch, that have had dedicated hosts, but a lot of our traditional hosts that we consider kind of the staples of the industry, people like Golden Boy or Chris Bucket, have actually been doing more casting this year, especially in Valorant, than hosting roles. So it's been a weird year for hosts overall, but less competition for those who actually did it, I have to say.
Yeah, for those that were able to contribute throughout the year, I know they've had to adapt to the landscape, as we've talked about here on the show. When you see the names on this list, are there any that stand out to you? Because there's some that are returning onto here. You have Frankie, for instance, but maybe some others that are appearing for the first time.
I always mention Machine. I think Machine is just continuously been kind of one of the best in the business. I like what he does. I just host. So we talked about commentators before, right? Where like play-by-play is a little bit more narrow. You still have to let your personality shine, but at the end of the day, you got to do the task. Color, you show a little bit more of your personality, but you got to bring the numbers or the information. Host is majority personality. When you hire a host, if you're producing a show, you're hiring the person, and Machine kind of brings that out. And again, that's really what I want a host to be. I want a host to be warm but not fake. I want a host to be approachable but not cheesy.
I don't know if I agree that being warm is necessary. I prefer my host to be incisive and to really cut to, I liked when they hold analysts to their bullshit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Where for me, a good host really drives the conversation and can rein the analysts in when necessary in order to keep things moving, but who also remembers what the analysts say to call them out when they're having double standards for different people and really generate the conversation and the debate on the desk. And I really love that kind of contentious hosting, if you will.
I agree, and I think I do that, and so I want to backtrack because it's not play-by-play, and I can do that. Not warm, but inclusive, right? Like you said, drive the conversation, make it so that I want to either join or watch the conversation, and because I agree with you there. So yeah.
And you all mentioned kind of some of those differences, while not as present in 2020, that happened between the roles. So, Monty, I want to get your opinion on, for instance, the fact that Zoe has transferred to a different type of hosting role throughout this year, how something like that would come into play when looking at the finalists compared to somebody that maybe has done a variety of different hosting roles and specialized in that versatility.
I think Zoe has been great. She was doing a lot more of she transitioned really from being kind of a desk analyst and into an actual desk host, right? And so I think that's been very successful for her, but she's a pro and has been in esports for over a decade already and has worn many hats over that time. So I'm not surprised to see her success.
I think there are a lot of people on this list that we can boast many praises of, but I'll leave it to everybody in the audience to do so by casting your vote at esportsawards.com/vote. Right now, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, but don't go anywhere because coming up afterwards, FDOT's going to be sitting down with the Esports Team of the Year owner and all-around esports aficionado. We've got G2's very own Carlos Ocelot Rodriguez. Stay tuned.
Shine like
Sometimes you just need a little wonderful in your life. So why not go to a place made for it? Arlington, Texas. It's a city made for fun and excitement and all the things you love to do. And even some things you didn't know you loved until you came here and found them. Come see for yourself why Arlington is a world of wonderful.
All right, now it's time to get some esports royalty in the house, joined by owner and the man of G2. It's Carlos Ocelot Rodriguez. First and foremost, thanks for joining me. How you doing, man?
Thank you very much, man. I'm doing pretty good. It's actually my first day after holidays, so I'm fully energized and all the batteries recharged.
I feel that bounce back and everything. It's awesome to have you here. Last year, you guys picked up Esports Team of the Year, G2 League of Legends, and that was for 2019. Obviously, felt good, but talk to me a little bit about what that meant to you and the squad.
Yeah, it's always, with awards, it's always special because it looks back in time a little bit, it sort of reminds you that a few months ago, you did things right. And in a company like ours, where honestly we don't do very good at celebrating, like every time there's something good happening, we always go head down and like think about what the next thing is. We don't really have a mindset or a culture of celebrating good things. So these awards allow us to look back and celebrate, which I actually appreciate.
I mean, you guys have built an empire here, right? You've got not just League, but you've moved into Rainbow Six, and you've got Rocket League. That's what I do, and I get to see you guys there. Counter-Strike. I mean, there's so many things that are going on here. What's is there a ceiling? What's the goal for G2?
You have to consider G2 as the most competitively successful organization in the world. Yeah, we haven't won the League of Legends World Championship, but if you look at the top titles, we have either European champions, North American champions, or world champions. And I think that there's no other organization that has accomplished that, and that speaks volumes about our ability to, adapt to new times, adapt to lineup changes, adapt to, different ecosystems and different games and different communities. So I really like that. But what I'm the most proud of is not our competitive success, because, competitive success, you might do things better or worse, but comes and goes in a way, right?
Sure.
The goal, I guess, is to remain relevant and around the top. But what I'm very proud of is what we've been able to accomplish in terms of social media and content and building community and stuff like that. Which it's honestly the toughest part, because everybody is doing a pretty good job, and just to be just a tiny bit better than them, so that you can grow that much faster than them. it's both. It's both fun to do and incredibly hard to do. So I'm very, very proud of that as an organization.
The fans are like you said, a community and a culture in and of themselves. Was there a blueprint for that, or is it because I have some feelings, but did it just sort of happen?
The company is built on 3 pillars, right? Number 1 is ambition in whatever we do, whether it's winning in game, or whether it's winning in graphic design, or whether it's winning in terms of video creation or community management, or whatever it is, or sales, right? Winning, ambition, number 1. And number 2 is entertainment. Everything we do, from the accountant to the professional player to myself, we do it to entertain. Actually, that's the ultimate goal, right? And number 3 is empathy. Like, not only how the players speak with the fans and whether they spend a minute or not spend a minute with the fans, to, again, the accountant spending half a minute to speak with somebody about, helping somebody. I think empathy is at the very core of what we're doing every day. And when you combine these 3 pillars, and you combine that across every area in the company, then all of a sudden you have a culture that actually works and has all the areas in the company, including, all these teams in specific games, just honestly succeed. But just looking at G2 and what we've been able to accomplish this far, it's what I told you before. Is we just don't have the lack of humility, I guess, to just celebrate and things like that. We even though in social media we are very outspoken, and honestly, we truth be told, we don't give a fuck. Like, we just go out there and just try to have fun, as much fun as possible, right? And I think that's a lot of what people like. But when it comes down to crunch time, we know that the only thing that puts us ahead of the others is being ahead of the rest, right? And you can't be ahead of the rest if they beat you, if they do better content than you, if they're funnier than you, if they're more entertaining than you can't. So our goal is always to be, I always tell them, we have to be so damn good that there is no question, even if you're a hater, that G2 is ahead, right? And that's, I guess, the words and culture we live by.
I mean, it absolutely, you know, it spills out onto the page. You see it every single day when you're looking at the G2 ads, when you're looking at the G2 fans, and that's how I kind of judge an esports organization, because I use this word culture a lot, community a lot, and the further you are away from the actual point, you know, which is you or G2, the further out you go and how strong your signal is, so to speak. You know, that really speaks to how strong the brand, or, you know, to use a more personal word, the unit is.
So yesterday, throughout this week, we released the League of Legends Worlds jersey, right?
Oh yeah, you did.
and it was the release had its hiccups, right? Because we didn't expect, and this is on us, right? We didn't expect that much amount of interest on the jersey. Well, the website exploded, and when we fixed it, it exploded again, and then it kept exploding nonstop. So we had to like create a queue, which we did in like an hour, so that people could join, enter a queue, and then have to wait. And there were moments in which there were people waiting for 10,000 people to buy their item, so that they can buy their own item. We had limited stock, and we had to do magic to like make it unlimited, so that people, like, you know, we don't do this 100 thieves approach, you know, like,
right,
you know, if you want the jersey, we'll give you a limited amount of time, just get it, right, done. And well, turns out that shit's hard. And this week, like the amount of the amount of interest, man, it was actually insane. Like, it just opened everybody's eyes here. Like, what's going on here? You know? So I'm just so grateful.
I think a lot of that has to do with you, to be just straight up and down. And I'm sure you have a fantastic group of people around you. But as we see, you know, sort of this move into the next wave of esports, right, where it's players and casters and getting involved on the top end, right? You in charge of G2. We see people like Henry G move over to Cloud9, and, you know, Karn with Fnatic years ago, right? As the people that are used to being boots on the ground now become sort of the higher ups, there's an understanding of how this stuff works. There's an understanding of everything, and I think that hits home a little bit to the fans. I mean, you know, how much, like I said, I'm sure you've got a great team around you, but like, how much of G2's success do you think comes down to you? Because I have an opinion.
So I like to be fair, right? And the same way I was fair when Gamers 2 fucking sucked, and I put the blame on me, I will say that things that are good right now, in part, is because I've also learned to lead this company to where it is today, of course. But I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that you can't do everything. You shouldn't do everything yourself, you know. And it's like I've learned to make my focus really clear to the company, and to provide the vision around, you know, the brand itself, the marketing, what we should be doing, and in a bit of an inspirational and aspirational role for the company, while I heavily help put teams together and understand what's going to be the next big game tomorrow. So that is sort of the majority of my focus. I still do some sales. I still do, you know, as the CEO, you gotta put a lot of unwanted time in legal and like shit like that honestly I hate. But thankfully I've gotten to hire pretty good people that is much better than I ever imagined I could be in a lot of these things. So that's, I think, that the biggest lesson to me, that, you know, just hire people that are better, and just focus on what you do best, you know, and just try to maximize and optimize your time accordingly. I'm very happy, dude, and where G2 is today is just, I'm very proud. But in my mind, if you would get into my mind right now, you would be like, holy shit, like, you're crazy. Because in my mind, we're just a piece of shit garbage company, because I compare myself, or I compare the company with like Disney, and I'm like, yeah, well, they're like not even an order of magnitude bigger. They're like, they could crush you like a cockroach and they wouldn't even notice, right? And that's what I want to, you know, compare myself to.
shoot for the moon, land on the stars, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there you
right?
go.
Yeah,
There you go. That's good.
absolutely. And I mean, looking at the other esports teams, when you look out there, they're probably not thinking of Disney, and I think that's kind of representative of where you guys are at. You said, if you come into my mind, you'll be like, what the fuck is going?
Yeah.
I mean, we see that on Twitter. You have a lot of fun on Twitter, and I think that's a big part of what allows kind of G2 to be successful, because it feels like, like you said, it is a long way from you just doing everything. You have 107 employees, which, congratulations, that's actually really awesome.
Thanks,
but
man.
it still feels like this family, this team that you're kind of rooting for. And like I said, you get very personal out there. I mean, you talk about your own games, maybe not your league games, but you've been playing Valorant, right? Like,
Yeah. Dude, I'm good at
still
Valorant. I mean, I
fun?
haven't played for 3-4 weeks, but I'm Immortal 3. There you go.
That's what I'm saying. Are you still having fun playing around the Valorant?
Oh
scene?
yeah. I enjoy playing. It's just that when you have played competitively once, especially when
Yeah.
you have done it for as long as I did, your mind defaults into winning, right, and not having fun. Like I remember the days where I used to have fun just playing. Now I have to win, and if I don't win, I actually rage. And yeah, so it's not the best of experiences like it used to be, especially because I don't have the time to like get very good. But so yeah, I try to change things out a lot. Racing here, I do some Valorant there, some football here. Then I hit the gym. Then I realize I cannot be number one in any of those things. But if I keep changing, and I keep it fresh enough, then it remains fun.
Worlds is here. You guys are prepping. It's a little bit different in 2020. Like most things are a little bit different. How's the team look here as you're getting ready for things?
Yeah, 2020 is definitely very special in a bad way. Yes, this year hit us actually pretty hard. So I'm specifically proud of what we've been able to accomplish this year, like being LEC champions twice in a row. Well, actually, it's 4 times in a row, right? If you count last year, but last year was easier, quote unquote, because it was a new team, and when things are new, there's like a honeymoon period, and if the team is really really good, the honeymoon period can easily last a year, and then it's when shit hits the fan, which is you come from playing against Faker and playing against Damwon and playing against FPX in the grand finals, and you have to go back and play against Excel Esports. I mean, no offense to anybody, including Excel, they're great people,
Sure.
but when you compare the world's best with the rookie of your league that is supposed to get 8th in the season, then the motivation to compete at the highest level has to be built up again, right? And that's something that this year was very tough on us for multiple reasons, because when we started getting into the flow of, okay, if we want to get another revenge against China in Worlds, we need to go through this hurdle of called or throughout Europe, right, and win Europe and become a really good team within Europe again before going to Worlds. And when things were getting a little better, then disasters struck, with of course Lucas, Perk's father, passing away, which was a huge blow to the team and to himself, of course, you can imagine. On top of that, you have the fact that Perks, and this is public knowledge, he enjoys mid much more than he enjoys AD carry, but he enjoys winning much more than he enjoys mid. So, which is the reason why he did this move, and all these things combined are just very tough, like for anybody, right? So I think the level of maturity that the whole team has shown is just unbelievable. Like no other team, I put my hand on fire. No other team I know would have been able to end the split like we did, considering everything that happened. So incredibly proud. And now moving to Worlds, like, players have already hit the rock bottom. And that's what you gotta fear if you're a different team. Like, you can't break this fucking team. You just can't break it. If we start 0-11 in kills in the game, like, they don't care. They will find a way to, like, make your life miserable until you get the Nexus. They will make you work for the 3 inhibitors, the two inner tires, and the nexus. Like, they'll make you work. It'll be miserable until you accomplish the W, okay? and and then a high chance we come back, okay? But if we don't, we learn for the next one, and it's just a very untiltable team. And I think that going through hurdles, going through failure is the best way to build a championship winning team. So most people see us as underdogs for this world championship. Yeah, the best team in the West, but relative to the Eastern teams, most people say we're worse than last year. I say, yeah, be careful what you wish for, because it might very well be that hitting rock bottom early on is going to help us.
Something that strikes me, something that's really easy to take away talking to you, even just for, we just met, and just talking to you, off air, on air, it is very obvious how much you care about your teams. Not just like dollars and donuts, but you actually give a damn about not just their performance again, but off the field. When I asked you about the team and how Worlds was going, one of the first things you mentioned was one of your players' like personal turmoils. That's very telling. What can you say about your personal relationship to the players and your teams there on G2?
Again, I don't like celebrating, right? So if the team is 8-0 in the league, they will not see my face. I will not come to them with a bunch of Red Bull and Domino's pizzas and Pringles and happy face and go karting or something, right? But they see my face when shit hits the fan and when I see I can help, right? And so yeah, that makes me be prone to be in conversations with players that are private and personal, and because everybody goes through hurdles and nobody understands a competitor like a competitor. When I was a competitor, I couldn't tell my parents. I mean, I could tell them, but they wouldn't get it. I couldn't tell anybody. It's just nobody gets you. Like, your wife, nobody will get you. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just normal. It's what it is. You're alone in the dark, then you go to bed alone and you're alone. That's what you learn. But having this very small support system, and in this case is the team owner that you playing the team for, it's actually very good for their mental health, because they understand this guy is where he is. Anybody that looks at my life, of course, I also have shitty stuff like everybody else, but everybody that looks at my life, I was like, the guy's doing well for himself. Well, I've gone through the biggest possible hurdles personally and career-wise, and here I am. I'm proof that you can survive it and learn lessons from those shitty moments. So this is what I try to share with players by the day-to-day communication. And when shit hits the fan for them personally or in terms of like in-game, they very often, if not always, come to me. And sometimes I know what to say, sometimes I don't know what to say, but always my experience gives them some context that is, helpful for them in those situations, right? So yeah, I guess by the way I am, and I guess you could say I'm empathetic, which is a curse and a blessing at the same time. A curse because you end up in situations you don't want to end up, but a blessing because you can help, right, people. It's playing, I guess, in my favor here, because the players do like to speak with me, and I do like to speak with them and try to help as much as I can, right?
That's extremely. I just all I have to say to that is I just respect the hell out of that, man. I think there are many ways to skin a cat, right? But I think that this is one of the better ways to kind of run things. The having both sides is just impressive, and all the kind words, whatever. Look at the success, I think the technical number you tweeted out was 70 billion people looking for the jersey, right? Like, I think people are liking G2.
Can you believe there's people that actually said, how can there be 70? Dude, whatever. I can't be arsed with some people.
Actually, not enough people.
Yeah. I'm checking actually the website database, and there's not enough people checking your.
Man, you have so much fun on Twitter, and it's funny. All of these questions, everything about how like how intrinsically you look at your team to how your history and even how much fun you have online. I think is all contributing factors to why G2 is fun. That culture permeates down. Like, I mean, we do. You guys have a Rocket League team, and there's a broadcast called The Grid where each team has their own broadcast.
And like, seen that?
so for those that haven't seen it, I need to explain this. So basically, it's a tournament. All these teams, Dignitas, Alpine, all these teams have their own broadcast, and they all called people like me. They were like, all right, we're gonna get 2 casters, and they're gonna cast the game. And what you did, you called up Athena, who's just your content creator in Rocket League, and she watches her boyfriend play, and her homie shows up,
and
they just,
Orb joins her.
Yeah, and they just yell about the game. They just have fun. It is one of the most fun broadcasts on that whole thing.
It is very fun, and like we like Orb, which is another one of our creators. He didn't know much about Rocket League when he came in, so he said some stupid like terms. He made up terms, and then those terms became like terms that shoutcasters were using. Like, it's just whatever. It's not time.
It's funny because it's real. If everybody knows how much you will get roasted when you go into a game that you don't know and you start talking things that don't make sense. But G2 just kind of walked in and owned it. Athena was like, yeah, I play for fun. Orb, you don't know anything. Let's do it. Yeah. G2. And like, it's the most poppin' chat. I mean, listen, like I said, I work on a different broadcast. I may or may not be in that chat while I do my games. I'm just saying, like, G2 is, you guys have a lot of fun. And I mean, over the years, you guys have created this culture of fun, everything from the videos to the social, the Akuna Matata, right? Do you have any favorite, spot or moment or meme, if you will, from the world of G2?
I really love what we did actually last Worlds with we did like a feature on perks for Worlds, and it was called Watch Me. And it was based, or we were heavily inspired by Messi haters Adidas video, which is the one that is like, you'll never be good enough or big enough. You will never play with the big boys in the big leagues and blah, 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 right? And you could see the face getting closer and closer. But as the voiceover was speaking, you could see the things that people told him he couldn't accomplish actually happened. And you see that in sort of 3D done very beautifully. And we did a very similar thing with perks. And it was like, you'll never accomplish anything. You'll never win in blah, let alone win the whole thing in Europe, blah, blah. And you can see the trophies and the MVPs and stuff like that, And at the end, the only thing that was missing, because he won MSI and he won pretty much everything as a player, the only thing that was missing was Worlds. And at the end, the voiceover said, and you'll never win Worlds. And then the guy, Perks, looks at the camera and says, watch me, and it's so fucking good. But then what happens is that, of course, there's a higher chance you don't win Worlds than that you win Worlds. That's just fucking how mathematics go, okay? And so, you're shooting yourself in the foot, although we don't give a fuck about that. We actually don't care. We truly don't care. But in this case, it was every single time we do something serious, it's an opportunity later to, if we win, I told you so. If we don't win, we make fun of ourselves like nobody else has ever done it. So when we lost 0-3 in the finals against FPX, we made this video of me like becoming a clown, okay? But the funny thing here is that we actually recorded that before we lost, because we're honestly, we're so fucking good at this. We had like 2 types of content if we win or lose, right? And we used the one when we lost, right? And it was like me becoming a clown and blah blah blah. And I was saying like, yeah, G2, there's no way G2 loses the final. They're much better than FPX. Our top laner is better, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like slowly getting dressed as a clown. And at the end, I say, watch us, right? And watch me, I say, right? Just referencing that video we made with Perks. And it was just the most beautiful way to end the year with the League of Legends team, because it was like a whole roller coaster, you know? Yes, we believe in ourselves, we're fucking serious. Then we flopped very hard after peaking in semifinals. And then we just make fun of ourselves like we've never done before. And we had like, thanks to that video and that overall, initiative, we had so much love from the community. And people, it was done the day after or uploaded the day after. People got over the finals and they said, look, yeah, they lost. Fuck, so what? They're still doing the best they can. It was a great year, So that video making fun of ourselves did a lot of good to us, And that's probably one of my favorite things, because we could turn something negative into a positive, something that could be used against us. We use it against us, and it turns into a positive. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to own it, and y'all absolutely do. G2 owns right now. Sometimes it feels like G2 owns the world. Like
I know,
said,
dude. Sometimes I especially in League of Legends in Europe, bro, because I was like, I need Fnatic to like beat us like once or something, Like on the back of my head, I was like, I'm gonna regret saying this, but to myself. But yeah, I truly wanted that to happen, and finally it happened this season. They beat us 2-3, but then we completely rough stomped them in the finals. So I guess it did something for the rivalry, but yeah, not much at the end.
you got a little bit of the rivalry out of it.
A little bit, yeah. There were for a solid 7 days. There were like hundreds of people believing Fnatic was better. Dozens of people believing Fnatic.
Oh man! Next time you play Fnatic, it's gonna be the whole Arctic roster, and you're just like, oh, we just decided.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, good stuff, my man. I want to say it's always a pleasure. This is the first time we got a chance to talk, but I have a feeling it's always a pleasure talking to you, my man.
Oh, thank you, bro. You let me know. We can speak anytime.
You know what? People say that, but when it comes to, I actually believe that. So I'll hit you up for some free gear for sure.
I mean it, man. I mean it. I mean it.
Definitely, I'll cut that shop line then. But thank you so much for your time, man. What you've done legitimately, as a member of the esports community, what you've done with G2 has been really just, straight up impressive, and the team continues to kill it.
Thank
you, thanks for your time, and good luck with everything.
It means a lot to all of us here, man. Thank you so much, and thanks to you guys for giving us this platform. It's as I said, it's getting an award or just being part of the conversation when it comes down to awards. And our content team is in 4 categories this year, which is insane. Plus, all the other nominations like personality of the year, team of the year, organization of the year. There's so much stuff we're a part of. I'm not even sure how many we're a part of this year, but it's honestly, I never thought I'd say this, but it's honestly very refreshing and nice to be a part of these things, because again, it reminds you that you've done some things right, and sometimes that's not a bad thing to go through.
Absolutely. You said before you don't like to celebrate. Well, I do. I like to party. I like
now
to celebrate.
And so
we celebrate. We celebrate for you. Beers up, cheers up. Again, congratulations, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Shine like gold.
Every great victory is a story, made up of a beginning, a middle, and an end. The Esports Awards are teaming up with eFuse to help tell more great stories. We're offering $10,000 for one lucky individual on the brink of greatness in esports. Your journey to making your mark on esports starts now. Whether you want to be a pro player, team manager, analyst, community leader, caster, or even a content creator, this fund is open to you, aspiring pro, and you, university applicant, even you, esports entrepreneur, definitely you, grassroots role model, also you, looking to build your first gaming PC. Yes, you, the 40-hour-a-week streamer, but not you, millionaire team owners. You've had enough. So what are you waiting for? Apply now on the Esports Awards website for your chance to take home $10,000.
And your winner. Shine like gold.
Welcome back to the Esports Awards 5th Spotlight Show. I am joined again by FDOT and Monte Cristo as we get into the second half of the awards that we have to reveal today. That is the Pro Awards, and we're kicking things off with Esports Coach of the Year.
The finalists for Esports Coach of the Year are Zeus, Rambo, Toby, Grabs, Krusty, Zifa, Heen, Chrome, Lua BSYY Sheng, Lycan,
Coach is honestly an interesting category to me, considering how many things fall under that job description. FDOT, having dabbled with some organizations, what do you make of what the coach contributes to the team and how much it does differ from team to team?
Glad you put that last part, because coaches in esports can be anything from absolutely fake managers to just fill in the blanks on paperwork to a real like dedicated like hardcore watching tape, doing the whole nine. And I'm not a numbers guy, that's why I'm not coaching right now, but I'd say majority of them kind of fall in that former category. So it's really cool to see the real coaches, I'm gonna call it like I see it, stand up tall, and then because of that, it's so stark when you see a team with a real coach kind of do it. As far as like the whole scene is concerned, there's a lot of different games with a lot of different coaches, and seeing the team, seeing is believing. You can see the difference with a good coach on the field most of the time.
And we talk about kind of that variance from team to team that a coach can have. But a lot of times when looking at a coach and a team, it can be difficult to differentiate what comes from that individual as opposed to the rest. Monty, when you're trying to evaluate the finalists for this category, what are your personal criteria? Because even that seems to have some variety from person to person.
Yeah, I think it's always hard to evaluate coaches from the outside, which is whenever I'm doing color commentary in a game, I make a point to visit as many team houses or team practice facilities as I can so that I can observe their scrims and kind of get a very good sense of how the coaches are interacting with the team and what aspects they contribute. But there are different important jobs that go into coaching. Sometimes a team really needs that game knowledge and analytic ability. Other times they need what is effectively a relationship manager among some very smart players, but who might have arguments or need to mediate those conversations and make sure that everybody is acting harmoniously. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into coaching. And for me on this list, Krusty, still from the San Francisco Shock, as somebody who's seen him working in person on several occasions, when I've been inside their team practice facility, when I look at the way that the Shock have adapted over the years, in terms of meta in Overwatch, he is one of the most impressive coaches I have ever seen in esports, and I think is highly deserving of this nomination. Obviously, Grabs as well, with the incredible success of G2 over the last 2 years in League of Legends, is another very strong candidate.
Yeah, I'm with Monty. It's so difficult to really see from the outside looking in unless you've had that conversation. And like he said, you've got the captain coach people who are there just to like facilitate the teamwork and don't discount that. That's actually a really big deal when you've got like pure, not athletes but competitors here. Sometimes the lines can get crossed and having the outside look in. But then you also I tend to really and I don't devalue that, but I really like the X's and O's coaches, as I like to say. I look at Rambo in Call of Duty. I mean, he made a name for himself as, arguably the greatest objective player of all time. So as he joins joins the Empire as a coach, you assume, again, outside looking in, it's tough, but knowing how strong of an objective player he was, transitioning into a coach role, that makes sense that he would have command of a playbook. And we've seen Dallas look really, really strong because of it. And so, I think that's one of the ways that you can actually connect those dots. So, I shout out him for sure.
That command and that control seem to be aspects that we are looking at for the coaches. But Monty, you mentioned when talking about Krusty and Grabs, their work over multiple years. When you're trying to evaluate a coach for a 2020 award, do you inherently have to consider that multi-aspect, or is there a way to kind of narrow down and see through what they have accomplished in this year alone?
Well, obviously we're looking primarily at this year, but unfortunately, we haven't seen the Overwatch League finals yet, and the Shock are one of the final 4 teams. And we also haven't seen the conclusion of the League of Legends World Championship. And we also were unable to watch MSI because it was canceled this year for League. So it does become a little bit harder. What we can say is that G2 did finish the summer split as expected in first place again. And what we can say is the Shock were one of the top 2 teams heading into the final 4 in Korea for Overwatch League. So, they've had very successful, as successful as we could ask for to this point in time, right? But we're still waiting on those final results.
You just mentioned the things that we've missed out on or are still to come in 2020. But one thing that you don't want to miss out on in the audience is your chance to vote. Go ahead and cast it for Coach of the Year. esportsawards.com/vote is your opportunity to do so and show who gets your nod in this aspect. But our next award is going to be Esports Console Rookie of the Year, presented by Scuff Gaming, seeing who's on the rise in esports.
The finalists for Esports Console Rookie of the Year in association with Scuff Gaming are Shotzi, First Killer, Zezzy Niho, Illy, Jarez, Awakening,
This is why we're lucky to have FDOT here to speak on behalf of the console players. I know you have a lot of places in your heart for this scene. Why do you think it's important to recognize this category?
First of all, chill. Okay, listen, I'm Mr. Rocket League these days, and I love it. But I am a mouse and keyboard guy for forever. Don't shade at me like that. But I do.
Who said it was shade? What you trying to say? All right, whatever. Go on.
I'm trying to say you can rip my mouse from my cold, dead hands, but I do recognize that these guys come out and they let it hang. This is it's a different input system. It's a different world, so to speak. And you look at the people. I look at Rocket League, and it's just. I will concede there it is an advantage to have a controller in your hand. Call of Duty, it's a culture thing, but I respect. I respect the culture. I'm here for it.
The way the panel works is that I'm not an expert when it comes to console titles, and we do have people who are. And moving forward, obviously, we want more input from those people to help guide our decisions on categories like these. Whereas, obviously, I have more of a voice when we talk about the PC gaming side of things. But just as a reminder, we do have our panel open right now for applications. So if you happen to be a well-known person within the console gaming space, we would love to consider you to have you on the panel and make sure that we make the right decisions for these categories.
Make sure to go apply for that panel if you're interested. And Monty, are there any changes that will be coming to this category?
Yeah, probably next year, especially with the announcement of Call of Duty being able to be played on PCs for official events. And the reasoning behind this is obviously having kind of a smoother frame rate, higher hertz monitors, and better technical specifications to help the professional players play, even if they will still be on the controller. Probably we're going to be moving to a controller player of the year and keyboard and mouse player of the year, and controller rookie of the year and keyboard and mouse player of the year, because the lines are clearly blurring when it comes to the hardware that is used, but not the control interface is probably going to remain the same.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm here for it. I think, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to continue to see Call of Duty kind of hang on to controllers. We'll see what happens, but I think it's a culture thing. And I mean, Rocket League, you're just better off with a controller. Shout out to the, you know, couple of players that actually use this mouse and keyboard, but controller is the way to go. And, you know, to really do the deep dive here as far as like our rookies are concerned, you know, you look first and foremost at Shotzzy, Call of Duty, Awakening. These guys are the absolute future of an entire league. You know, we've seen what they can do and what they're doing. But I mean, Shotzzy is probably the best rookie there in Call of Duty, specifically thanks to, you know, Rambo coaching and being on a team with Clayster. You know, that's going to give you a whole lot of credit over there. And then moving over to the Rocket League world, you know, I look at First Killer and a lot of these guys. So Rocket League's an extremely young game. And you have 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that make a name for themselves in the bubble scene, as we call it. And they can't transition to RLCS until 15, 16. So you start to know these players, you start to see these players, and then bang, here they are. Dignitas going to pick up Joria's. And like, that's a really fun transition to kind of see this like culture shock for these players and how they deal with it. So I think there's a lot of names up here, and I'm not going to single one out, just going to touch a couple players and, you know, point out that there's a whole lot of talent coming out. And that's really exciting year after year to see rookies continue to fill up these categories. Esports be growing.
And we get to see these players grow over time. That's the great thing when it comes to rookies. And even on the Esports Awards stage, seeing Kenny, a past winner of a rookie award himself, passing the torch. Those are the things that we're looking forward to at the award show this year. And make sure that the rookie that you want to win does so by voting at esportsawards.com/vote. We've covered our console rookie, but it's time to go to a different type of machinery. Let's head into Esports PC Rookie of the Year, presented by Matrix Keyboards.
The finalists for Esports PC Rookie of the Year in association with Matrix Keyboards are Sinatra, Wardell, Tactical, Carria, Spica, Faults.
Another set of rising stars in the world of esports, but some of these names are a bit more familiar than others. Monty, I want to get your opinion on this category, being that it's people fresh to certain scenes, but different levels of experience.
Yeah, and I think this is just one of those aspects where we need to have a conversation about what rookie means in esports, because while players like Sinatra and Wardell are rookies to Valorant, do we categorize all players in Valorant this year as rookies? When does that start? When we don't have a kind of recognized professional circuit in that game yet? If there's a league later on, do all the players become rookies? We ran into this problem with Overwatch League as well when we started, because very few of our star players were in fact rookies. Many of them were professional players in other games. So with Sinatra obviously coming from Overwatch League and being the MVP in 2019 of the entire league, Wardell not ever having the top level of success in CSGO, but certainly competing within professional events, including in Flashpoint in Counter-Strike even earlier this year in 2020, it becomes a lot bigger of a question, right? On the other side of that, we look at players like Tactical and Carria, who are actually true rookies this year within League of Legends. And I think especially that's very difficult to do on a team of DRX's caliber. And also, playing in the LCK, which is a very competitive region. So Korea, definitely one of the top picks, I think, in this category for me.
It is very interesting to see side by side when you look at a scene like League of Legends that has been around for a while. So the rookies are more traditional in that kind of year or so sense compared to Valorant, as you're saying, like into Overwatch League where it's all fairly new. F. Dot, how does that add to just the interesting aspect here? If you're a player trying to transition into another scene, what do you make of what it takes to break out in any scene, whether it's new or old?
I mean, that sort of comes full circle when we were talking about color commentators. I talked about how you can't force history there, right? And so when we look at League of Legends, there's established veterans, there's established old school players, and so it's easier to delineate who belongs in which category. I was very quick as you guys were having the conversation. I was like, dude, obviously Sinatra's a rookie. Oh, they're all rookies. Yeah, I have no idea. And so that becomes a much harder conversation. It becomes, I mean, this is where I have fun. It's just a hour-long philosophical conversation where nobody's correct. And that's my favorite. That's where I eat my bagels. So, that is
no. What do you mean? I'm always correct with my opinion. My opinions are facts.
I mean,
I've established that in this industry. Okay.
Yeah, occasionally when it's not my opinion.
I actually don't
sure.
know how I feel about this. I'm interested to have this conversation because I haven't come down one way or the other personally.
Same, and I think I'm just glad I'm not on the panel because it's not my job. So I get to sit out here and be like, whatever you say, I'll be mad at, like everyone else on Twitter. So it's kind of fun, like having the roundabout conversation. Sinatra, will he be Jordan playing baseball, or will he be Deion Sanders? Shout out to those that remember the Reds. So I'm here for both conversations. At the end of the day, I think the League of Legends and the Rainbow Six guys are probably easier to kind of like lock down, but I am glad that the Valorant players have some sort of representation here, just so that we continue the conversation, as I like to say a lot.
Yeah. And that is a conversation that I feel like could take an entire day, just breaking down what does it mean, thinking face. And some notable people on this list, I mean, Tactical did already walk away with a Rookie of the Year for the LCS, maybe looking to do another one. Others also wanting to extend their prowess in award categories. But you can all, of course, go ahead and vote for who you think should take it at esportsawards.com. But to celebrate the partnership of this category with Esports Awards, Matrix are planning a bunch of giveaways over the next couple months that you can all participate in. If you want a chance of winning something, all you have to do is go ahead and follow Matrix Keyboards and Esports Awards to be the first to see when the prizes go live. Now we're going to turn to a new award category for 2020, and the first time that we get to honor the top professionals in the world of mobile gaming. The Esports Mobile Player of the Year recognizes those that perform best when it comes to the touchscreen.
The finalists for Esports Mobile Player of the Year are Fly, Luxy, Nobrew, Mortal, iFerg, Zuxi, Surgical Goblin.
Personally, I think it's really cool to see this award added this year because mobile gaming has gone through a lot over these past years, Monty. What do you make of it considering that you have some experience in the early development?
Yeah, I spent several seasons casting Vainglory in like 2015, 2016 for OGN in Korea. And I'm a really big believer in mobile gaming, and I think it's a category that is only going to expand. And people don't even realize how large it is. Some of the biggest esports or competitive events that we've had so far in 2019 and 2020 have been on YouTube for games like PUBG Mobile or COD Mobile. These games are absolutely enormous in terms of their player base, absolutely enormous in terms of their viewership. And as we see a convergence of mobile technology, consoles, and PC, I think we have to acknowledge that we're heading towards a future where mobile gaming is going to be highly relevant in the esports scene. And so it's great for us to start to recognize those individuals.
We talk about like removing barriers of entry, right? When you look at soccer, as football is one of the biggest games in the world because you need a ball and maybe 4 sticks to delineate goals. It's not like football, American football, you need all these pads and 30 and as mobile devices get cheaper and cheaper, people all over the world can just plug in and play. You don't need a $80 final mouse or a $100 keyboard and a $3,000 PC. Console removed some of that, but it's still $500 for an Xbox. $90 if that for a Samsung 37 or whatever it's called, and you can get right in there. I've casted the Brawl Stars stuff and the PUBG Mobile, and it is a rabid player base of people just waiting to join and play.
You may not need high level equipment, but you do need a good internet connection. I remember early tournaments attempting to be put on Wi-Fi. I am so happy that we are far from that when it comes to mobile gaming. And with a new category like this, it's important to get words from the experts. Luckily for us, we did hear from Matt Rutledge of Complexity Gaming.
It's been a pleasure to serve as the mobile platform representative on the Esports Awards panel to help the series celebrate some of the best in mobile esports. And there's a lot to celebrate. Fly is a legend in the Chinese Honor of Kings scene. He's a 5-time Finals MVP award winner and finished 2019 by leading QG Happy to a second place finish in KPL. Zuxi, along with his twin brother Luxi, finished the PUBG Mobile World League Eastern Finals in dominating fashion and in number 1 and number 2 rankings in the kill-death ratio. Nobrew led his team to victory in the Free Fire World Series, displaying impeccable skill in front of roaring crowds and 2 million concurrent viewers watching online. Mortal has been a catalyst in igniting India as a region and engaging mobile gamers through the documentation of his competitive path and his inspiring messages. Ferg has gone on to reach the top of the charts in 4 different mobile FPS games as leaderboards. He's leveraged his talent to become one of the premier creators in Call of Duty Mobile and continues to impress with content geared towards skillful gameplay and jaw-dropping mechanics. Surgical Goblin is the most accomplished player in Clash Royale history. He put on a heroic performance in the Clash Royale World Finals, overcoming an obstacle that nearly kept him from competing. Surgical caught a last-minute flight to join his team the night before Worlds began.
I think any one of these players can win this award, so make sure your voice is heard. Go to esportsawards.com/vote and vote on who you think should be the first ever Esports Mobile Player of the Year.
Thanks, Matt. So good to hear from you. So those are our finalists for our Esports Mobile Player of the Year award. Don't forget to vote, as always, at esportsawards.com/vote. Now we do have a quick break, so don't go anywhere. When we are back, we will return with our Esports Team of the Year award presented by the Koyo Store. PC Player, Console Player, and Organization of the Year, as well as your next inductees to the Lifetime Achievement Class of 2020. You don't want to miss it.
Shine like gold.
Sometimes you just need a little wonderful in your life. So why not go to a place made for it? Arlington, Texas. It's a city made for fun and excitement and all the things you love to do. And even some things you didn't know you loved until you came here and found them. Come see for yourself why Arlington is a world of wonderful.
Welcome back to the Esports Awards 5th Spotlight Show. We are partway through our Pro Awards, and now it's time to get into some multi-person orientation, specifically with our Esports Team of the Year presented by the Koyo Store.
The finalists for Esports Team of the Year are Top Esports, Shanghai Dragons, Team Vitality, Team Secret, Damwon Gaming, Dallas Empire, G2 Esports, Space Station Gaming, Rainbow Six, San Francisco Shock, Space Station Gaming, Rocket League.
Unlike some of our previous categories recognizing individual, this one is a team category, but Monty, it is different from the organization, for instance, coming up later. What are you looking at when evaluating a team as a finalist? Is it just their competitive prowess or otherwise?
Well, I think mostly it's competitive results when it comes to this one, and also to differentiate. So the organization of the year is the umbrella organization. Often they contain multiple teams playing multiple games, whereas team, we try and zero in on a specific division, whether it's an organization's League of Legends team or Rainbow Six team, just one team that plays one game to recognize their results.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I think when everybody that's watching this is a fan of esports, you often latch to those players of that particular team for that particular scene. And there are a lot of scenes represented across our finalists here, F. Quite diverse in how many we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the way it should be, right? You got Counter-Strike, you got League of Legends, Call of Duty, even Rainbow Six and Rocket League kind of get involved. And, you know, there's a lot of different teams out there doing a lot of different games. You want to see this breadth of diversity across, honestly, all categories. So especially for Esports Team of the Year, you know, we have some obvious standouts, right? Dallas wins already. Some of the other, and that's actually interesting. You know, some of these, when we look at the timing of all this, Dallas Empire won their league. It's already over. But what about some of the other, you know, how's Rocket League going to finish? How's our sit? So there's a big conversation as how to weigh these teams when you're voting.
And you bring up a good point there in how to evaluate, because not only are the teams in different scenes, but there are different competitive structures, right? Some are still waiting for their world championship. Some have had it. Some it comes down to majors. Monty, when evaluating them...
Some will never have it if you're Dota. You know, some will happen.
Some you have to really put your imagination to work and think into the future, your own projection. But you mentioned that, Monty. There is some difficulty there, right? We can't not address the fact that there's so much variety, not just in structure, but what 2020 brings to the table.
Yeah, and considering we're still waiting on a variety of results to come in, if you're in League of Legends or if you're in Overwatch League, unfortunately, with the major cancellation in CSGO and with TI's cancellation in Dota, you do have to use your imagination a little bit more in terms of those games' results, which probably lessens those teams' ability to win. At least that's how I would vote in this category. When you don't have the ultimate event of the year, you don't get the ultimate prize to be Team of the Year, in my opinion.
This is why voting gives me stress, because you have to think of all of those things when you're casting and deciding someone's future. But hey, I'm not the one that has to do that, though I will. Everybody in the audience should. Esportsawards.com is exactly where you can do that. We do have more categories to get through here today. In the next one, we have Esports PC Player of the Year. We're looking at some of the individuals that make up the teams that we just discussed, as well as some of the best PC players of the year. There are so many standout performances. This is going to be a hard one.
The finalists for Esports PC Player of the Year are Zai Wu, Knight, Caps, Striker, Rampy, Matumba Man, Nisha, Booga, David Taniza, Sinatra, Canadian, Benji Fishy.
Back to the PC category, recognizing some individuals. We are on from the rookies, and F. I think one of the coolest things that we see on this nomination list is how diverse the games are. I believe 8 in total across the category.
Yeah, everything from Counter-Strike to the various MOBAs, Fortnite, Booga's not going anywhere. He's going to keep showing up on all these award shows. Absolutely. We got a chance to talk to him, and he's a cool guy as well. One of the interesting things here is seeing F1 show up. I think that is, we were talking a little bit about it in the green room, quote unquote, Monty. But that F1 kind of jump in here is a wild world.
Well, I think in a world where a lot of real F1 races were represented digitally this year, it's a super interesting crossover. Of course, the race is now actually happening back in real life, but for a short time earlier this year, that was the simulation was really taking over. And I think we're going to increasingly, as we move forward in esports, and especially as virtual reality develops, we're going to start to see I think that the union of traditional sports and esports is inevitable once virtual reality gets good enough.
That VR comment.
That's a philosophical conversation for another time, though. Anyway, on the Esports PC Player of the Year. Sorry to derail. I think there's again, many strong categories here. I tend to lean more towards, I think, the League of Legends side of things, especially with Knight's performance over in the LPL, being a finalist in both spring and then winning the summer split, and arguably being the top MVP candidate heading into the World Championship. Again, it will depend on his performance. Caps, again, resurging in the summer split, now back in the mid lane after a kind of weird stint as AD carry. But these are guys that I'm looking at heading into the rest of the year.
And Monty, mentioning these players that have had kind of ebbs and flows over the years. We've talked about Sinatra also being in the rookie category. If you're looking at a player like Caps that has had quite a few years to his career and you're evaluating for 2020, how do you compare that to maybe some of the rising stars? Booga, for instance, who got a lot of recognition off of the top after that wonderful performance, because we often can't evaluate them without thinking of where these players came from in their previous years of performance.
Sure. I do think that we tend to, at least the way I tend to vote, is I tend to isolate towards the year in question and really deeply analyze that. I think also, one of the factors that I will consider this year is what is their LAN performance, and I'm going to more heavily weight the players who are on LAN, and the World Championship for League of Legends will be on LAN, whereas, for example, with Overwatch League, almost all of the year was online, and even the finals are going to be online. So that does take a few points out in my book, because I consider all online events to be inferior to LAN events when it comes to competitiveness.
Yeah, that is just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. It's tough. I look at the league players for sure. I do want to mention Zywoo, though. I feel like we were going to get out of here without touching on his performance with Vitality. That's where the fan in me came out, just watching that Vitality run, and I like the op shot, so I'm here for it. But just got to slam on that.
Some remarkable names to look out for on this list that you can all cast your vote for at esportsaward.com/vote. We've covered our PC Player of the Year, and we even covered mobile before, so now it's time to head into Esports Console Player of the Year.
The finalists for Esports Console Player of the Year in association with Scuff Gaming are Clayster, Shotzi, Tex, Crim6, Sipical, J-Naps, Fairy Peak, MS Dossery.
Luckily, we did get to discuss console pretty in depth earlier on, and some of these names are on both finalist listings. F. What do you make of it?
This is, like you said, first of all, some of these players are on both lists, and it's always exciting to see a rookie on, Rookie of the Year, as well as just overall Player of the Year. I don't care what you're into. That's always awesome to see. With that said, I think that some of the veterans are a little bit more interesting, if you want my brutal take here. Crim just, I mean, he's the guy in Call of Duty. He wins again. Here he is. He's been around forever. And Sypical, listen, guys, Sypical is the best Rocket League player. Period. End of story. And there it is. So how does that react to the larger world of esports? That's the interesting conversation. I do got to shout out my man Fairy Peak because listen, the idea double commit to get real into it, like two players going for the same ball is looked at as always bad, and like clearly it's like not. There's got to be, and Fairy Peak came out and said, look, it depends. And seeing the meta change, so to speak, it's a very different world as far as like League of Legends metas, etc. But there is a way to play the game, and seeing somebody challenge that and continue to be very successful is always interesting to me. Challenge the status quo, bro. So I'm here for that. Fairy Peak kind of doing his thing there, but I think there are absolutely standout players here. My heart goes out to Clay, but Crim, Sypical, these are the best of the best, and so they're just continuing to chug along.
I'm sure Clayster will find a roster next year. I'm sure he will eventually.
Yes. There is a small world where Clayster doesn't play Call of Duty next year, but like the whole situation just oof.
F. This is a category presented by Scuff Gaming after all. How important do you think it is to consider the equipment that you bring to the table when trying to be a professional console player?
I mean, listen, before I said I was a KBM guy, I spend hundreds of dollars on custom keyboards. There's like a world where like I feel, if you're gonna game all day, that's your samurai sword, bro. Like you gotta come to the field with something you love. We look at lacrosse players and they rep Steel or they rep their own brand. We look at baseball players, Rawling and their gloves, right? And when it comes to console players, some people like the argument over which console, which Xbox, PlayStation controller you're going to use. And then like when it comes to Scuff and some of the other companies, Scuff is out here like bringing the paddle systems and all sorts of additional equipment. So I mean, like that question, how important is your equipment? I mean, absolutely, it's numero uno for sure.
You gotta feel prepared, and we are fully equipped to get into our last category of the evening that we have for the Spotlight Show. It is Esports Organization of the Year. We've already looked at some of the great teams that have performed throughout 2020, but this award really focuses on the success across multiple titles for a single organization.
The finalists for Esports Organization of the Year are G2 Esports, NRG, Team Liquid, Envy, Cloud9, Space Station Gaming, 100 Thieves, TSM.
One single organization has to do a lot to find themselves on this finalist list. Monty, you've talked a lot about the different landscape that we have this year and how that changes the criteria. And we've had categories specifically acknowledging some of the ones on this very list for the content they've created and other aspects. How does it all come in for a whole package here for Esports Organization of the Year?
For me, I tend to look at competitive results first and foremost and consider how an organization fields multiple winning rosters across games. Many of whom will also be up for Team of the Year in their individual categories. In 2018, I think this was pretty clear with Cloud9 winning the major, reaching top 4 at Worlds in League of Legends, winning the Overwatch League. It was kind of an unprecedented year for an organization. And last year, I think we saw very good competitive results out of Team Liquid. But with fewer LAN results this year and a more even playing field, I'd say, across orgs, it's going to be really challenging. And you also have to consider, when we look at Envy, the fact that Dallas Empire, even though it's a different name, is part of that Envy organization. So you're considering both the teams that are named after these orgs, as well as the ones in, say, Call of Duty or Overwatch League that have different names. Like for Energy, that would be the San Francisco Shock. I think this is a very competitive category this year. And I'm excited to see where this goes and how we're going to weight these different events if it comes to an emerging esport like Valorant, or if we're going to put the more emphasis on tournaments that had LANs, which will obviously hurt certain esports or certain teams, divisions under these esports organizations. I actually don't have a clear answer on this for myself right now, and I need to do some more thinking on it.
I think that's the biggest difficulty, right, FDOT? It's really hard to nail down.
Yeah, for sure. You know, when it comes to like criteria and what we're looking at here, I think and this is like sacrilege to say, I feel, but I think I value team performance a little bit less so than Monty does, specifically at the point, because of the point in time that we are with respects to history and infrastructure in esports. As we expand the front office, which I'm going to get to in a second, of our organizations, I think there's more, you know, as every team gets a CGO or a general manager and is able to build rosters in that regard, that's where I'm going to put all my chips in that corner. But for now, we're still kind of fleshing that out. And I look to Cloud9 to sort of lead the charge there with Henry G moving into that position. And I can speak for 3 hours about how good of a change that is. But right now, you know, there's a lot there. 100 Thieves is basically a streetwear brand that has a couple of teams.
see this category actually, FDOT, is esports organization of the year, not fashion designer of the year.
But merch store,
I don't really count that as it turns out. It's not part of esports.
It's also not esports team of the year though.
You're right. So it's esports organization of the year. So 100 Thieves, why don't you call me when you get some competitive results? That would be great. That would be great.
They got that big compound though. You know?
Wow. Yep. Yeah. Or the architect of the year. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
You didn't say the sponsor in there, and everybody's mad about that except us. But when it comes
I'm 100 Thieves. I don't have to say it.
Part of the omelet, and I'm not saying I don't care about your performance, but I think it's more of an amalgamation. As we see more teams do what Cloud9 did here, and get Henry G to be a president of Counter-Strike operations, as we would say in basketball or something else. He puts forward a player. He's building a team, and he's publicizing those damn contracts, which is something that we need to be doing. I am getting heated about this, but Cloud9, sorry, I tipped my hand, leading the charge here. This is how I want to see esports continue to grow in this direction. This is the maturation of competitive gaming right here in the flesh. Henry G putting it out there, and other teams should follow suit. This is because that's the world where we can say, listen, there's a guy getting paid to make that good team, and it's his job. And then we can say, all right, your team's under the organization umbrella, good, bad, in between. And we can really like pin the tail on the donkey there. Cloud9, anything but love what they're doing. And, you know, like I said, I'll double it. I'm voting for them here in this category. I think it's awesome. I love everything they're doing. The history, cool, sure, awesome. But this move with Henry G, this is the maturation of competitive gaming, like I said.
My last question kind of remarks on that. You're talking about the management, the role that they play. And when it comes to something like the Oscars, where there's no actual producer category because of how diverse it is, some look at like picture of the year as the only way to get that. Monty, do you think esports organization of the year is kind of the way for the Jacks, the Steves to get that recognition for what they put to the forefront?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's completely correct. I think that you do have to consider the professionalism of the front office, which will obviously give TSM many demerits given what has gone on with them and their leaks and harming of certain players' careers this year. I think that professionalism of the front office is definitely part of this for sure.
Well, you all that are watching, reward that professionalism. Cast your vote, esportsawards.com/vote. That's the place to do it. And these are all the categories that we have for today, so you can even get it all done at once. Don't miss your chance to do so.
Shine like gold.
What was that? This is Rocket League! Done that in the history of Dota!
Every great victory is a story, made up of a beginning, a middle, and an end. The Esports Awards are teaming up with eFuse to help tell more great stories. We're offering $10,000 for one lucky individual on the brink of greatness in esports. Your journey to making your mark on esports starts now. Whether you want to be a pro player, team manager, analyst, community leader, caster, or even a content creator, this fund is open to you, aspiring pro, and you, university applicant, even you, esports entrepreneur, definitely you, grassroots role model, also you, looking to build your first gaming PC. Yes, you, the 40-hour-a-week streamer, but not you, millionaire team owners. You've had enough. So what are you waiting for? Apply now on the Esports Awards website for your chance to take home $10,000.
And your winner.
In our last two shows, both Daigo Umehara and Jonathan Fatality Wendell were named our first two to be inducted into the Lifetime Achievement Class of 2020. Tonight, we will be revealing two more that will be joining this incredible roster and the Dream Team combination.
Starting out his career as a founder of Team 3D in 2002, Craig Levine is also the co-founder of the ESEA League, which stands as one of the most integral building blocks for competitive esports. On top of that, Craig Levine also co-founded the ESS Agency, connecting brands with the youth market through the video game entertainment industry, helping lay the foundations for the sponsorships we see in esports today. Craig Levine has since moved to the esports production giant ESL, where he operates as the co-CEO, and has been with ESL since 2014, producing groundbreaking worldwide esports competitions viewed by millions around the world.
Congratulations to Craig Torble Levine, an outstanding member of the esports community and the third member to be inducted into the Lifetime Achievement in Esports Class of 2020.
And to give some context to people on how we select these as part of the panel, we're very serious about going back through esports history and kind of doing this sequentially in terms of when people started in the scene and when they started to have major effects in the broader world of esports. And so that's been in mind rather than taking more people who have started contemporarily in more recent years. And Craig, also known as Torble, is one of the most influential people in esports history and continues this day. Currently, he is the co-CEO of all of ESL Gaming. So obviously a huge player in terms of the tournament operations across multiple esports and the production of multiple esports. But if we rewind history, he was one of the original founders of an important North American team named Team 3 that ended up becoming part of the CGS eventually. Obviously a notable failure, but they were one of the teams like Complexity that was selected as part of that, and it has been a notable organization for many years. And so Craig has 20 years of professional experience, both on the team operations and at the ESL level in terms of tournament operations. He's been a cornerstone and a legend of this industry for a long time and is very, very deserving of this award.
Many of us look to those ESL tournaments as some of the earliest encounters with esports, and it's important to recognize that those that develop this scene from the back end as well. FDOT, being that this award is different from others and that it is a lifetime achievement and you don't get nominated by those in the audience, do you think that this is the kind of pinnacle of a career that people will be aspiring to really put that kind of latch in what they've contributed to esports growth?
I suppose it's definitely, it's a nod. The Esports Awards is industry and endemic run. It's not people from the outside just going off of numbers. Craig Torble he's a guy that, like, listen, if you are unfamiliar with him, you are certainly not unfamiliar with his impact in the scene. I didn't know that he was behind Team 3D. Like, that's wild. And that's that's what I said before. You can't create history overnight. It's because that's real history right there. So, like I said, these are the people, the movers and shakers, if you want to use an annoying cliche, but like, these are the people that reverberate through the industry. So yeah, I mean, this is much more than a notch on the belt. This is a big deal. So yeah.
And speaking of making history, in the context of the Esports Awards, there was somebody that made quite a splash in past appearances. Let's find out who our next inductee is.
Richard Lewis is a British veteran esports journalist, tournament host, and analyst. Having worked with E-League, Faceit, MLG, ESL, and DreamHack, as well as having a huge catalog of published articles. These articles cover a broad variety of topics such as breaking news, exploring the biggest scandals in esports, giving expert analysis on the esports scene, and many, many more. Richard Lewis forged his own path into the industry through his dedication and devotion to his craft, breaking through and creating the mold for esports journalism, helping shape the scene into what we know and love today.
Congratulations to Richard Lewis. They are the fourth person to be inducted into the Lifetime Achievement in Esports class of 2020, and how deserving it is.
Richard Lewis is one of my straight up favorite people in esports. Monty and I seem to be getting along here. If there's a common theme, I like people that don't deal with your bullshit. And Richard Lewis has been holding people up to the flames since day number one. There's a fun Smite story out there that I won't tell on this camera, but maybe some other day. But I just appreciate so first of all, I appreciate the type of work he does. Journalism, to an extent, investigative journalism, is something that I hold in very, very high regard. I think that there's not a lot of people doing it in esports at all whatsoever, and clearly he's front of that. A lot of things in our industry have either been broken by him, or at least pushed forward by him. He is a large part of the current here, and the first editor at large for Next. It's just cool what he's been able to do. Absolutely, we use the term pillar of the industry, and he is a load bearing wall without a doubt. The utmost respect for the work that he does, the way he does it, and the people he does it with, and maybe not respect the people he does it to, but I'm here for that conversation. I'm an all-out fan, and I respect him as a person that I share the scene with. I think people like that need to exist in our industry, and that's why he takes home a Lifetime Achievement Award like this.
And Monty, you mentioned before that with the inductees, you're attempting to kind of go in order of their contributions, paying attention to when they really made their breakthrough. It makes sense. Fatality, one of the first professional players. You have Torbell here since the beginning. What do you feel was the moment that Richard Lewis really started to cement himself in this scene and set himself on this path where he is spoken in such high regard?
Well, I mean, he started as a journalist prior to CGS because he was actually hired full time at CGS in 2007, I believe. So he has been in the scene breaking stories for 15 years at this point in time, and he's been incredibly critical when it comes to holding people accountable and bad actors. He basically single-handedly dismantled the entire illegal betting market surrounding CSGO. He has outed numerous corrupt people within the scene. And on top of that, I mean, everyone knows him for his investigative journalism work, but we also have to discuss the fact that he's an excellent host, hosted for E-League, which was he kind of had the first turn on esports on television, which didn't end up that well. E-League obviously turned out a lot better on Turner, but he himself is an amazing on-camera personality. So having both of those skill sets in one individual is extremely rare. And I think he's absolutely deserving of this award.
A very respected individual, a pleasure to work with, and one that we are happy to congratulate based on his induction. Well, it is official, my friends. Voting for the Pro and On-Air Awards are now live. So go, rush along. esportsawards.com/vote. That's where you want to be before the moment is too late. It really is as simple as that. But I want to thank those that joined me here today on the 5th Spotlight Show here for the Esports Awards. We had Tom F. Battinger joining us once again, and then Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels for the first time here, but not a stranger to the Esports Awards. Any parting words as we close out our day?
Nope. Excited to see everyone voting once again this year, and hopefully we'll have another excellent awards ceremony.
Same here. Thumbs up. Let's keep it rolling.
Looking forward to it, as I'm sure the audience is as well. That's going to be all from us here on the Esports Awards 5th Spotlight Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And don't worry, we'll see you again soon. Until then, good morning, afternoon, evening, and good night.
Shine like gold.